combination of like a cinematic maestro virtuoso-ness. He goes so far with it, and there's so much larger than life and very operatic.
Now, one of the things that was actually kind of interesting in following Hong Kong films going into the later 80s, they started moving away from martial art, primarily films, into the more John Woo, Chow Yun-fat, gun movies.
Yeah.
So now, for 2 seconds, they were starting to call that genre gun fu. But then the guys, Toby Russell, Ken Russell's son, and Rick Baker, not the makeup effects guy, but the Hong Kong martial art experts out of Britain, started a magazine called Eastern Heroes, and they dubbed that genre heroic bloodshed. Yeah. And so it started becoming known as heroic bloodshed.
Well, John Woo was a big, major, hero to me at the time. I was just so influenced by Hong Kong cinema. All right, to me, and to this day, I still think it's like the most invigorating cinema that's made in the world. All right, and to just, there had been no really in the 80s. Jesus Christ, it was like the worst time for action filmmaking ever. There was really Walter Hill. It was off his game. All the older guys died. Aldrich, Peckinpah. It was really there was James Cameron. That was it, and he was fantastic. But there had not been a Sergio Leone or anybody like that come out and shown us what we'd seen before, but in a completely new eyes, until John Woo.
Can I answer that from an action movie point of view, from an action movie lover point of view?
Please do. I want to know.
Even before I was a filmmaker, when I was the guy at Video Archives, I can answer that exactly. That's what Hollywood did in the 80s. And then I started watching Hong Kong movies. And then they're Chow Yun-fat has got the 45 and he's this close to the guy. Bam, 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 bam! And it was so fucking exciting. Uh-huh. It was like movies were liberated. It was oh, yes, yes, yes.
Hong Kong's action cinema
Completely.
of the 80s. I mean,
We
John
see scenes
Woo, all the cop movies of Hong Kong of the 80s.
What he does that Americans don't have is he just has good ideas. Like in The Killer, when he comes to the woman's, the blind gal's apartment. All right, the cop and the hitman are there, and they can't say who they are, so the blind girl doesn't know. But they each got a Mexican standoff going there, but they got to act like they don't. That stuff is just incredible, man. I mean, that means you'd watch 20 years of American movies and never see anything that clever.
Pauline Kael. What did Pauline Kael think about this? Bullet in the head. Okay, she doesn't even finish bullet in the head. What the fuck is that shit? All right. I had watched at least the shootout sequence of Better Tomorrow Part 2 25 times on VHS.
Because at Universal, at that time, I remember, because they're the ones that brought John Woo over to America, and they did Hard Target.
John Woo, on his very first movie in America, Hard Target, did the same thing with Lance Henriksen. There's this magnificent sequence where they set Lance Henriksen on fire, and he actually is his coat is completely on fire, and he's taking it off as he's delivering his lines and everything. And the fact that knowing that it's really happening, all right, you can't buy that thrill. You just can't buy it. All right? You can't create it. There's no special effect. That when they actually do it.
Tell us a little bit about the film you'll be doing with John Woo, and how did you two hook up? Because that's an amazing combination.
Well, thank you for putting me in the same category as him. He's the best. Well, it's funny because I've never really considered myself a writer. I've considered myself a director who writes stuff for himself to do, and this was just the first one that I got a chance to do, and I was very happy that I'm instantly known as a writer, director, good, bad, and different. And what happened was, so I said, I'm never going to write anything for anybody else again. But, John Woo is just such a hero of mine. As far as I'm concerned, he's making the best action films, bar none, since Sergio Leone. And he's reinventing the genre there in Hong Kong. And people wanted to get us together. And, of course, I'd, just take the honor to meet him. And I met him, and I really liked him a lot. And I came up with a good story. That is why I did it. That's why I'm doing it, all right, is I came up with a good story. Writing a lunk-headed action movie would be really hard work, and it wouldn't be worth my time, and I'd be doing a disservice to John Woo. But I actually came up with a good story, all right, that I think would be a good tale, all right? And good stories are easy to write, because they more or less kind of write themselves, coming from, creating a couple of wisecracking guys and just, okay, now they go here and they do this and they go there and do that. That's hard to write. All right. So I came up with an interesting story that I could be excited about. And then I just really, to tell you the truth, I just was excited about the idea of the collaboration. I think I have a few things I could give him, and he's got a motherload to give me. And I also like the responsibility of it. I mean, I take it as a responsibility bringing John Woo to, I mean, he's doing another movie before the one we're going to do together, but I take it as a responsibility bringing John Woo all the way out in the American market, unfiltered. Not a halfway John Woo, not a John Woo for the American audiences, but the John Woo, the people who love John Woo and John Woo wants to be. All right, full on, all the way, no holes barred. All right, and I take that as a responsibility, all right, because I have such admiration for his work. So that's how we got together. And so I'm finishing writing the script that I'm going to direct next. Then I'm going to write that one, and he's doing the movie he's doing now, and then I'm going to be doing the movie I'm doing this summer, and then around somewhere after that, we'll do it.
Well, how does one write a script for John Woo, actually? I mean, I know you haven't done it, but you just go, fight in the barn, John Woo grand aria, and you move on to the next scene?
No, you see, to me, that's really boring. I mean, part of the thing about, I don't really think his movies are like that. I think his movies have really interesting tales going inside, neat stories, and they have some people will say that they're like unsophisticated by like American standards as far as screenwriting, like what Lethal Weapon 3 is sophisticated. It's the things that they have in there that could be considered unsophisticated are just the difference between our two cultures. Like you ask a lot of questions when you see some of his movies from time to time, like, well, wait a minute, well, if they're together, why doesn't he arrest him now? Oh, wait a minute, he could have got away right then, why didn't he get away? Little tiny things like that, that they don't think about over there, they don't care about. But what they have in their place is they have like these just ingenious scenes, just total creative stuff. So like his stuff is, so it's not just like one set piece after another after another. I've come up with a story that I like. I think it's a good story, and then inside of that, there are going to be great set pieces, but it's not going to be a one damn thing after another thing.
No, I didn't imply that. I just thought, I was wondering whether you just went set piece here, continuation, and then set piece here, and let him just do it. It's like 2 blank pages that he's going to fill completely.
No, actually, I can tell you how I'm going to do that. All right, and he's the director. It's his film. All right, so he can do what he wants. I'm going to write them out full on set pieces, and then he's going, and then what I assume he's going to do is, he's going to use what he likes of it, and then and I give him as much as I can, all right, and then he's going to do what he likes of it, and then add anything else he wants to, do in the meantime, all right. But no, I mean, that's one of the fun about the idea, is because writing it and having the man do it, is that's the dream. That's just great. So I get to do it through the best guy who does it. I mean, just who could ask for anything more? It's just the greatest.